I would say that our tiny home is a living, breathing thing. It's consistently changing. We're consistently upgrading and improving things. My name is Chloe Barcelou.
And I'm Brandon Batchelder. And in 2014, we decided to build a tiny house on wheels.
This is Relocated, where we tour the living situations of people who choose to live off the beaten path.
We live in our tiny house in New Hampshire, United States. When we initially moved into the house, we joked that it was like living in a big wooden tent. And so we were living in it and we were building out the plumbing and the electric and everything. Initially, we anticipated living in the tiny home for 5 years. It was our 5-year plan. Together, we own a production company which specializes in all kinds of making things for film and photography.
We make a lot of stuff.
What prompted us to build a tiny house was our financial situation and our work situation.
We didn't know where to live because these film jobs or photography jobs can be really anywhere. So we thought if we build a tiny house on wheels, we always have the option to relocate if it's necessary. We started building the tiny house late in 2014, and we were living in it about a year later.
By 2015, we had moved in.
Not everything was finished, but we were living in it. You know, up until this point, we've spent about $25,000 on the house, with like $10,000 for essentially the bones of the structure, and have been improving things ever since with electric and plumbing and all these other built-in furnishings that we've been acquiring on the way. Our most expensive item in here has actually probably been the trailer itself, which we bought off Craigslist for $1,000.
The biggest cost saver was actually the materials that we built our frame from. We built the frame using 2x4s, which we recycled off of our first film set. So we built the film set, we tore it down, and instead of throwing all of the materials into the dumpster, we salvaged over 700 2x4s. And that's what we used to build the initial frame. So it was entirely free.
Other than that, everything else is sort of a cumulative process, so it's kind of hard to say how much things cost because we're constantly adding on piece at a time as we find new finds roadside or antiquing or etc. There are a couple of key things in living in a tiny house that are helpful to know. First, like right away, find a good place to build as soon as possible. These things take time. You're going to need more time than you think you're going to need for sure. And finding a place to park when it's finished can be even more challenging, especially in places like New England where it's less common. Building homes can be so complicated these days that most people don't get to partake in the actual process, and it's almost a rite of passage sort of thing to sort of build your nest and get into it. Beyond that, I think it's been incredible to actually get in here and refine the space over time. We call it making room, which is that you take any space and you look at it hard enough and you devise new ways of getting more out of it and making it more beautiful, making it more functional.
I think a lot of our revelations came once we moved into the house and lived in the space for a while, and we were like, okay, the space is not working. We need to build something like this.
And we tried to leave the house pretty basic upon our moving in so that we could experience it and then have ideas rather than try to mastermind it all in advance. It was just too much to take into account. So welcome to our tiny house. This is it. I'm in the kitchen right now. Now I'm in the living room. This is Chloe's office here. Her desk / vanity, and her wardrobe is over here.
Brandon and I have corresponding steamer trunks on both sides. Everything is adjustable, like all these pipes and everything. And then over here, we have a expanding foldable shoe rack that just kind of tucks away. All the shelves in here are adjustable.
And then as we come over here, we have our shower in here. This is what we call the captain's vanity. It's basically just a little sink area for us to brush our teeth and for me to shave. Everything here is built from salvage materials, except for a couple of odds and ends. So it's designed to actually fold down under. A little tricky, but it works. We have our upper loft sections. So we have our guest bed / couch over here. Our bed, same deal. And then we're good to go up. I'm a grown man with my big strawberry tea kettle. does the sloth.
So we do not regret building and living in a tiny home. I think that there's definitely things that we found to be very challenging, especially living in the winter in New England.
It's always a challenge to get water to the home and out of the home when it's
Below freezing.
zero outside. We found that we can use heated hoses.
Our daily routine definitely changes depending on the day and the year. Generally, we wake up, come downstairs, make some breakfast. We usually have a show playing in the background.
Normal people stuff.
Yeah, normal people stuff. If we're not working on a client project, then we're usually working on our tiny home. And when we're not working on the tiny house, we are going to the thrift store, which is our favorite hobby.
Yeah, we're obsessed. We're going to build a pergola tent deck thing, basically an addition that will slide out from under our house. It'll be a 4-season deck with a tent around it. And the main thing to take from that is we will have a place to take off our dirty shoes, which is something we don't have right now. So we come in and we track in the dirt. So we vacuum
like 5 times a day.
Incessantly.
Yeah.
We needed a way to get from where we were financially and career-wise to where we want to be. And this was a way to transition to that point. So we thought 5-year plan, but 5 years later, we've put so much work into this place. It's hard to imagine living anywhere else.
Yeah. I do look forward to the day when there's no more tiny home projects to be done. And of course,
then we'll build a house.
Yeah, then there'll be other projects, but
now we're kind of thinking that it would be great to build our someday house and actually have the tiny house be able to kind of dock with it and sort of blow out one wall. That way it's not just sort of parked out, rotting in the tree line somewhere. We can still make use of all this work that we put in.